Hello and welcome to episode 4 of We Are Listening. My name's SK Shlomo and I'm joined by the lovely Andi Osho today, who's my special guest on this lovely live stream. If you've not tuned in before, We Are Listening is a kind of project that I put together whilst launching the crowdfunding campaign for my debut album, and I'd made this decision that I was going to stop hiding who I was and pretending to be something I couldn't be anymore. And I started talking openly about my own journey with mental health. And I decided it would be great to talk to other people about it too. And that's how this thing started. If you want to see episodes 1, 2 and 3, they are online right now at skshlomo.com/wearelistening. You can see me talking to Bill Bailey, Jason Mraz and Codeline. And welcome. Please join in with this conversation. This is a whole forum. The whole point of this is that we are listening. We're all going to be connected together. So myself and Andi are online right now answering your questions in the comments. We've got some questions that you guys have sent in advance as well, so it should be lovely for us to all talk and share and generally feel like we can support and welcome and encourage each other to be our truest selves. So that is why you're here. This is episode 4. It's very exciting and I'm very excited to be joined by our guest today. It's Andi Osho. Hi Andi, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. I love listening to that intro and just like how inclusive this thing is, because sometimes these things are one-way traffic kind of thing. So it's really great that not only people listening and joining in the conversation, but supporting each other as well. It's great.
I think it's super empowering, and like everything's changed for me in the last few weeks just because I made this decision that I would be open and I would kind of, like you say, make it a two-way thing. Because it can be really easy when you feel like, oh, I'm in the spotlight. These people don't really understand me, and then I ended up kind of not really replying to all the messages that I get sent. I get sent lots of messages, I'm sure you do too, but just making a decision to be like, you know what, I can let everybody have part of me, we can all be connected together, and then the reaction to that's been incredible. Like, I've got to know these people who a lot of people will be watching right now and understand their worlds and their struggles, and it's been really beautiful, and yeah, that's why I'm really honoured that you'd come and do the same. So thank you so much for taking time out of such a busy schedule. I know you're kind of back and forth over the Atlantic these days, aren't you?
There's a little bit of that going on, yeah. But I love that this is about mental health, and also that you on some of the promotional stuff you sent me, it said creativity and life, and I think that that's an important thing as well. Is like certainly for the creative community, of like, you know, really taking care of your well-being in this process of trying to make it in whatever field you're working in. Obviously, mental health affects everybody. Sometimes people use the term as though it is only applicable to someone who's having difficulties with mental health. Oh, he's got some mental health. Do you know what I mean? Right, or she's having some mental health. No, we've all got to look after our mental health. It's just the state of our beings. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, so, that's it. It's the same as your physical health, right? Like,
exactly.
We've all got to take care of our bodies. We've all got to take care of the inside as well.
Yeah. I think in the future, there'll be a time when we take both as seriously as each other. And, you know, when there's disharmony in someone's being, that will be treated as seriously as a broken leg. Because the repercussions of not dealing with something, they can really, you know, not just impact that person, but people in their family, in their network and everything. So, yeah, one day we'll take it really seriously.
Well, I hope so, and like it'd be really interesting today to talk about kind of your perspective. You know, you've been such a successful performer and also writer. Like creativity is basically your job, like mine, and then that we can talk about how that all feels and all the kind of ups and downs that brings. And I don't know, I've got some lovely questions that my community have got for you, which we'd love to talk about too. But I guess, like, tell us what's going on in your world at the moment. Like, what does it feel like to be Andi on a day like today?
On a day like today, I've got a bit of a cold, so
no.
I'm feeling sorry for myself a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think I'm in quite a good place at the moment, she said cautiously. But I think one of the things that I'm trying to sort of create in my life is just being content with how things are, regardless of what's going on. Because definitely when I started as an actor, and that was the first sort of creative thing I really started doing, I remember my partner at the time saying that he noticed that when things were going great, I was in a great mood, and when things weren't working out how I thought they should, I was in a really bad place, sort of thing. And he's like, you can't be like that. good advice, thanks. But he was right in a way, in the sense of like, you don't want circumstances to be dictating your mood or your mental sort of well-being, because otherwise, when things aren't going great, then you are always going to be in a bad place, and you're also probably going to be chasing those good things to happen so that you can feel great all the time. So slowly, I've sort of worked my way into a place where, what's going on outside isn't necessarily having as much of an impact on my interior life, as it were.
That sounds healthy. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's been a process, but I think it's just really important, because the alternative for me is very up and down. So no one needs me to be like that, especially not the people closest to me. So as much as anything, it's something that you're doing for the people around you as much for yourself.
would you say that you say that you kind of first latched onto that when you first started out as an actor? So is it something you kind of twigged onto nice and early?
No. It had to be pointed out to me. And also, by the way, I came to it very late. So, we're talking, I was already sort of late 20s.
Right.
So to be, and I don't doubt that I was living my life in that way prior to it being pointed out to me, prior to me becoming an actor. And I know that I had quite a sort of up and down personality then. I think I've smoothed off some of the edges, but it's it's definitely an ongoing process. Yeah.
And when you say like smoothed off some of the edges, like do you ever worry that, like, obviously it sounds so good to be able to be okay on the inside and that wellness to come regardless of the highs or the lows from the outside, but do you ever worry that you'd be sacrificing the highs in order to not experience so many of the lows?
No, because the highs are more of a sober space now than they were, because the highs were, they might have been ecstatic, but they were kind of ungrounded in a way, and the lows were unfounded, because everything was the same. It's just that things hadn't gone my way. That's the only so that up and down, it's not necessarily, I think a sort of a more grounded contentedness is probably more satisfying to the soul, but you have to have a sort of almost like a sober conversation with yourself about letting that go, because it might be, I don't want to be patronising, but it might be something to do with youth as well, because I had quite a young mentality. I was quite immature for a long time, longer than you're supposed to be, I think. Not that there's a right and a wrong, but you know what I mean? Like, so I think that's why old people are so chilled out and they don't really care. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just like they don't need the roller coaster of emotions that you have when you're younger. They're just like, oh, did it? Oh, has he? Oh, well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're much more chilled out about stuff.
I hear that a lot, like, because I do lots and lots of reading and listening to podcasts and just trying to learn about, like, well-being, spirituality and all this, and it comes up a lot, like, the true highs and the true happiness, they come from within, and they don't necessarily come from a wild place. And the certain days I can relate to it, I'm like, oh my God, I can feel it, like, in here, like, in my heart, I'm going to be okay. And other days I'm just like, I don't want that. I want the crazy highs. I want, like,
right.
I want to be wild. Like, I am wild. Why would I try and suppress that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But we're never one thing. I think human beings have this idea that there is a version of ourselves, and when we get off that version, we're not ourselves. And we're actually, I think, we're more of a verb than a noun. We're this constantly evolving, occurring phenomenon called Shlo, called Andy, called whoever, and that's what people interact with. But we have ideas that everyone should be consistent and the same, and we have ideas about ourselves that we're supposed to be. So it's quite right that you would have days where you're just like, hang on a minute, I fancy going on, doing what, and there's other days when you just want that chilled experience, because they're all you, and you just occurring in a slightly different form every day. But we just have expectations of consistency when that's not really what we are.
Yeah, it's so true. I like that idea of us being a verb rather than a noun. That's really nice. Guys, if you've just tuned in, you are watching We Are Listening, episode 4. We want to hear from you too. So if you have thoughts, questions, anything you want to share about your own journey and your own stories, please use the comments right now. We're all here, we're all talking. So please don't be shy and join this conversation. I'm joined by Andi Osho, who's talking beautifully about her experience. And I'd love to know more about, so you kind of started out in your late 20s with your acting. And then you kind of made the journey into doing your stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound about right?
That's about right.
And how did that, how was that for you? What was that all like?
So that happened because I wasn't getting acting work, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I started off pretty good out the gates, started doing some theatre, did the, obligatory theatre in schools and stuff, which is a nightmare. And we've had some experiences doing that, but maybe not for public consumption. And then I started to get little bits of telly, a few lines here and there, did, my obligatory EastEnders.
Yeah.
And then just things started really falling off. And I remember going and doing a reading of a play at the Royal Court, and I was so intimidated by all the other actors seemed so much more experienced. One girl was definitely off the TV, I'd seen her before. And I was getting stage fright, and it was just an invited audience for a play reading. It wasn't a show, we had a script in hands, and I was tripping over words and stuff. And I was like, this doesn't work. This isn't going to... If I'm not regularly auditioning, is this what's going to happen? I need to find some way of always being on stage and being able to control when that happens. And then I looked up some actresses that I really liked, and I thought, okay, let me model what they've done. What have they done? So I looked up Jocelyn Essien, I looked up Jeannie Ashray, I looked up Tamika Epson, and all of them had got stand-up in their past. And I was like, well, I'm not doing that. So what else can I do? And then 6 months later, it was like I was still in the same boat. So I was like, okay, all right, cool, I'll give it a go. Literally just to be able to have a bit of ownership about when I get to go on stage. And it was really interesting because I really enjoyed it up until money started changing hands.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, this sucks now, because now I've got a commitment to be funny rather than just larking about, basically. And I started going around telling everyone, right, that's it, yeah, I'm probably going to give up stand-up. And they're like, yeah, right. No one believed me. And then 10 years later, I was still doing it or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was, it was literally out of necessity. And then the whole stand-up just got so much bigger in my, what I was doing than the acting. The acting sort of fell by the wayside for quite a while.
But where is your passion now? Do you still identify primarily as a comedian or as an actor or as a writer?
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Who is Andi?
Yeah, well, I'm a verb, babe. I'm a verb. No, but I think I'm sort of. It is definitely changing. I think I found that you had to be quite. It took its toll on me, basically. Stand up, and I got quite. We're talking about mental health. I got very depressed actually at one point, not because of the stand up. It was more the business and who I was having to be in it. And I think I didn't know at the time, I think I was just growing out of the person that I would have to be to be that, because I was quite a hard person, quite a hard exterior, and that serves a woman very well in stand-up. But then if you happen to be having therapy and doing, personal development workshops and shedding all that stuff that makes you unnecessarily hardened, going back into the stand-up world can be quite a challenge. I'm not saying that all female comics are like that, but I think that for me, that was how I sort of weathered it. And what I subsequently realised as well is that I feel quite sensitive and soft on the inside. So that I think that's what that hard, brittle exterior was about. And then as you're letting it go, it's just like, no, but you can't. And now I'm going to feel super exposed when I go out there, and and it's not going to work anymore. And I think just eventually I just sort of backing out of it and falling a little bit out of love with the business and stop being the person that I needed to be able to do it to the level that I wanted to do it at. And I also felt a little bit contained by or restricted by what stand-up allowed me to do creatively, because I was thinking the things that I think about, I don't know if I can make them funny, and if I can't make them funny, then they can't come out through stand-up, and if I'm not doing anything else, then there's no other way for them to get out into the world. So that's when I started looking at going back to acting and writing a lot more, and I'm writing a book at the moment and doing a lot more screenwriting and stuff like that. So it was kind of a natural evolution, and I haven't really discussed it because I don't know where this is going. I could turn around tomorrow and just go, I'm sorry, guys, forget all of that. I'm going to do Live at the Apollo next year if they'll have me. So I'm just following my nose at the moment. But what I instinctively feel is there's a bigger picture that I want to I want to create in terms of my creative life, and stand up was just a little bit too narrow for me to be able to really deliver on that and be true to my authentic self, because that's what you're talking about, is being true to yourself.
Do you think there is a way to do stand up and not have that mask and kind of really come in a vulnerable place, an open place, and still be funny?
Definitely, and I'm sure there are stand-ups that do it, but I think I just started out with a different personality. I think that's really what it is, and to be able to keep the idea of Andi Osho going, like this comedian character almost that I created, and she was true to me at the time. It was just I could just feel a distance generating between us. Like, for example, she used to dress a particular way. Like, I wouldn't wear that anymore. Do you know what I mean? But like, I remember specifically one time putting on one of her dresses and just feeling so like, this is so unusual. This feels really weird, and I sort of had a sense that it was coming to an end. Like, because I just thought, this isn't even about me making a conscious choice. This is just about me having to follow my nose, basically, in terms of what feels right. And if something's not feeling right, I can't continue to do it. That's just who I am. I'm not. Sometimes people can get really comfortable in their discomfort, but I'm not like that. I'm just like, no, this doesn't work. Stop the train. I'm getting off, even if it's still moving.
But like, that takes a lot of guts to do that, and I think that's something that I'm going through at the moment. Like, I'm kind of transitioning. I kind of built up my name doing a certain thing, and now I'm like, guys, I've always dreamed of doing this thing. Would that be okay? And I've been amazed by everyone being like, of course it would be okay.
We want you to do this
thing. It's you we love, not some persona that you're imagining.
Yeah.
Like, how was that transition for you when you were kind of?
Well, let me ask you, how has that been for you? Because this sets me on fire, is when people say that they have made that choice. Because I feel like we've only got one go at this, as far as we know. So make the most of it. And if something isn't feeling right, or there's something that feels more right for you, you got to go for it. So how was it?
Well,
how is it?
It's just starting. My first single is out, and I've had quite a few questions like, where's the beatboxing, or where's this, where's that, but nothing felt like an attack or anything critical about it. And on the whole, it's just been like an amazing reaction. Yeah. And like, the music's very personal and honest, and in the same spirit as this whole show. It's kind of like, I'm sick of trying to be someone for someone else, trying to be someone who I'm not. So here I am. And I've definitely had a few unlikes and unfollows, but I think that's more to do with just how graphically I've been talking about my journey. Yeah, sure. With because I've got PTSD, which I kind of have been very open about, and I think that might be quite hard to hear about. I know it's quite hard to hear about because I find things that other people have said quite kind of triggering as well, and sometimes I just can't deal with it. So it's totally fine. So it's difficult to lose followers and to kind of refine your audience, but like, surely I just feel I'd much rather have a smaller audience who accept me for who I am.
Absolutely.
Rather than me try and spin plates to be someone who I'm not, to have more people like me on Facebook or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Right.
How ungratifying would that be if you've got to keep this idea of somebody going who you're not even feeling connected with, just to
But ultimately, it was an illusion anyway. Like, the sheer process of me just standing up and saying, like, I'm back, and I'm doing something different. Everybody was excited to have me back. Like, it was all in my head, all the resistance I thought I'd get. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it is scary as well, because you're right. Some people are gonna sort of, reject it, whatever it is, this new manifestation or whatever. And it's almost like a dance with your followers and your fans and stuff, of like finding out, okay, so some people aren't into this, or maybe I don't need to express everything, or maybe I need to drip, or whatever it is, to find a way to sort of move with this sort of ebb and flow. Because I'm sure, like, every person who puts creative work out there probably has the same thing. It's like, even a slight change in musical direction, or the type of acting you're doing, or comedians who start doing straight acting, there's going to be some fall away. But like you say, it's kind of natural selection. it once you let yourself know it's okay, and like a smaller, more authentic fan base is much better than an inauthentic bigger one, then you're just golden. You can just do what feels right.
Love it. Guys, thanks so much so far for tuning in. You're watching We Are Listening, episode 4, with myself, SK Shlomo, and Andi Osho right here. I think this is a good moment to take a question. I've got some questions here from our lovely viewers.
In the little brown book.
The little brown book. Who's in my little brown book today? So I've got some really lovely ones here. Stuart Bramford, hi Stuart, says, does Andy think there is a difference in the way mental health is seen/treated within the BME community? Is that something that you've come across?
I don't know what I can say about that, because I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I think that sometimes issues in the black and ethnic minority community sometimes get treated like they're a social issue.
What, the people?
Well, the issue, like for example, black on black crime, it gets treated as though it's a specific thing to do with black people, as though we're the types of people that are more likely to hurt or, you know, attack people in our own communities.
Yeah, correct.
But that's just called crime. Most crimes happen to people that you know, and if you're in the black community, you probably know a lot of black people. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what about white on white crime? So with the whole mental health thing in the black and ethnic minority community, I'm not really sure. I think sometimes it gets treated like it's a specific problem to us. There might be nuances within it, but everybody is dealing with mental health. Like, isn't it 1 in 3 people are going to or have experienced depression? So there's nothing specific about us. We're just people living our lives, and sometimes we're going to get into situations with our mental health, and sometimes we're going to be cool, just like everybody else.
So you say you haven't really seen a difference in the way it's treated?
Well, apart from, I mean, maybe there might be fallout from treating it like it's a social problem, in the sense of, like, it might be a bit dehumanising, actually, for the people that are experiencing it. I don't know any statistics, and I don't know enough about it to be able to say anything more constructive than we're all dealing with something.
Okay. I've got some more questions here. Alexander Costanza, hi, Alexander says,
Hi.
do you think alcohol being a legal commodity as well as one of the most abused drugs distorts how we see its impact on mental health? It's very serious questions.
It's a good question though, isn't it? I do often wonder about alcohol and just like how I'm not sure how I feel about certain drugs being made legal. I think cannabis, we would be fine if we did that here. But it is strange that alcohol that can pull someone's personality so out of shape, physically distort what they experience of the world, what they're capable of doing in the world, that's legal. But this other one that just makes people a bit giggly and hungry, that's illegal. Is that? It's just, it is kind of strange.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about that? About the whole, what was the question again? Like, so, how it...
do you think alcohol being a legal commodity as well as one of the most abused drugs distorts how we see its impact on mental health? Like, is the fact that it's legalised and therefore, I guess, endorsed by the powers that be, does that affect
that we ignore how it affects? Probably.
It is so normal.
Yeah.
Drinking is normal.
Yeah.
Like, growing up as a teenager, I thought it was totally normal that I spent all my lunch money on booze. Like, I'd just eat 1 pack of crisps a day so I could save up to get as wasted as I could at the weekend. Looking back now, I can see that was A, completely unhealthy, B, probably me trying to mask my trauma, and C, probably all my friends were as well, which means we were all like mentally unhealthy. Like, why is that normal? Like, in this country or in this culture? Like, is that normal?
It is strange when you really sort of think about it completely objectively. Like, getting drunk, not drinking, but getting drunk, like wasted is such a strange thing. And believe me, I've done it, but lots of times. But I just, like, you can barely stand, you can't speak properly, you're more aggressive, or you end up in situations that probably you wouldn't under normal, all kinds of things. But it has become, it's almost charming in a way sometimes, isn't it? That's how it's treated, unless someone gets aggressive.
It's kind of seductive. Like, you know, oh yeah, so and so, yeah, that's what they do. Like, they're wild, they're in touch with themselves.
And in the media as well, it's kind of, you know, I was watching a TV show the other day, and someone was a little bit down, well, very down. I can't remember what the show I was watching, but he just poured himself a massive thingy of whiskey. And I was like, first of all, people don't drink like that, but maybe they do, I don't know. That would kill me if I drank that much whiskey. But it was like, in the media, it's represented as a solution. When actually it's probably the last thing that someone who is feeling, you know, at the end of their tether, it's the last thing that they should be doing. But it's always represented in that way of this comfort if you're on your own and things aren't quite going right. So it's unsurprising that people make that connection in the real world, but it's not as easy a solution, because in TV shows people can sober up very quickly because that's what the story requires. But in the real world, you could could form an addiction. You're not going to sober up as quickly, and you know, I don't know.
I don't necessarily think that people equate the fact that drinking is normal with the kind of effects that might be having on people's mental health. Like, I didn't. I mean, I quit drinking a decade ago because I was having problems with it. But I still, even then, I don't think I would have used the words mental health to associate with that, even though it was clearly I was having addiction problems. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, that's a really good point, because I would say that there probably was a point when I had a mild form of addiction, in the sense of, like, it was just so a fundamental part of because I worked in the West End, you know, we were always going out, and it was always a constituent part of the night out. It was unthinkable not to drink, and not to have, not just not to drink, but just like to not get like obliterated, basically. Like, knowing who I was then, I know that I was running from something, or I was chasing something. But at the time, it was just like, that's what you do. But yeah, it would have been a mental health issue that I just hadn't confronted.
But maybe if it was more of a moderation thing, you can have a drink, doesn't mean you have to like destroy yourself slowly. Do you know what I mean? Then maybe that's not, that doesn't need to be a mental health issue. Like, doesn't mean you have to illegalize alcohol just because alcoholism exists.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, particularly with addiction, the addiction is the thing, and then it could be associated with anything. It could be associated with shopping as much as it could with heroin. It's the mechanism in the brain, isn't it? So you can't make the thing the problem, but there are some substances that are more addictive than others. So yeah, it's kind of like this guy is like wanting us to be like really smart. I'm not sure I have the answers.
What do you think? Yeah, these are really good questions. Here's one that's a little bit less intellectual, which is Jack Shepherd says, also Martin Barmforth, both of you had similar questions, so I'll read them both. So Jack says, who influenced Andy comedically? And Martin says, who influenced you both to take you down your chosen career paths? So start with that first one. Like, who were your comedy heroes?
Oh gosh, this is easy. So that would be, first one would probably be Eddie Murphy, because Delirious came out just probably around the time that kids form, me and my peers formed our sense of humour to be able to understand pretty much everything that he said. I think we understood all of it, actually, just some of it was like out of order and shouldn't have been repeated. And when you watch it now, you're just like, oh, he said that. But
things have changed, man.
Things have changed a lot. I mean, but I'll give it to him. It was like the 80s, so it was like, what was this? That's like 30 or 40 years ago. Anyway, so definitely Eddie Murphy, Lenny Henry for sure, Jeannie Asheray for sure. And then most recently, probably Chris Rock, Bill Burr. I think Zoe Lyon is great. Lyons? Is it Lyons or Lyons? Anyway, so it was Louis C.K., but then he kind of messed that up. And he was one of those few people. You know how sometimes when someone does something wrong, you find it difficult to let them go? Like with him, I was kind of fine to let it go. And I don't know whether it was because of what he had done and whether he whether it's because he admitted it, but I was just like, do you know what, I'm out. But yeah, so those guys I think were probably the biggest influence. And then And then when you're doing it, I don't know if you find the same with music, but then when you're doing it, you're kind of getting, inspired by your peers who are just, especially the ones that kind of find their voice. That's really magical when someone just suddenly goes from kind of searching around for what direction it is they want to take what they're doing in, and then they suddenly get it. And like in comedy, it's like suddenly someone becomes funny. Like they were good before, but then they become funny, and you're just like, oh my god, this is exciting.
That's inspiring.
Yeah,
that's
for
lovely.
Sure.
Have you ever struggled with that, like when someone nearby is suddenly funny and you're like, ooh, why are they suddenly funny?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, they go hand in hand. You're never going to be, well, not never, but I think there's very few people who are purely just happy for somebody else. There's always a little bit of something about self-concern. What about me? Or how come that happened? Or I'm going to get left behind or whatever. But I think as an artist, you've got to find a way of being okay with all of those emotions as they come up and not buying into them because they're meaningless, but your mind just tells you that they're true.
That's a really hard one though, like, especially for me. I sit there like, it's so unconstructive to sit there worrying about other people's success or not success or this or that. And it's like, and like people who I love, who I support and care about, I'm still like threatened by, and it's just like, come on, man, that's not how it goes. Like this is all fictional.
Well, it's funny because I do this like sort of live stream on Instagram every Sunday night, and I talk about creativity, and we just pick a different topic every week. And interestingly, this week, the one I just did was about habits, and at the end of the talk, we talked specifically about some of the habits that creatives take on, and one of them was having this sort of jealousy mindset thing, and I was talking about this one comedian that I knew who always used to congratulate people and always used to talk like that when he was talking about that person. Like, I'm really pleased for blah, blah, blah. They got on Live at the Apollo, or they got McIntyre's Roadshow. And I remember at the time just thinking, you lying. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, you lying. You just jealous of the rest of us. But in hindsight, I realised it was really smart what he was doing, because he was basically training his brain to be that guy.
It's practicing the love.
But basically, it's muscle memory. It's not just in your physical sort of self that you create muscle memory, but in your sort of spiritual self, you create muscle memory. And if he continues to just do that, then that will become his default setting. He might have a little bit of jealousy or self-concern come up, but his main thrust will be, well done them.
Yeah.
And I was saying to the guys that listen to my thing, it's just like, raise your vibration. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no need to be in that jealousy space if you don't need to. Fine, give it 5 seconds, let it come up, let it go, and then just wish that person well. Because also, if you're seeing somebody do well, that means you're in the presence of success, and that means it can come to you if you raise your vibration. If you're sticking around with the whole, well, that's not fair, then you're not. All you are asking the universe for is more of those experiences. That's all you're going to get. So do yourself a favour. I had this acting class once, and he was talking about like the different emotions that come up, and using them in your work. And one of them, and he said, like, to pick any emotion that comes up and just deconstruct it, find out, because they're usually components of lots of different things. And I happened to experience jealousy when I was doing this exercise, and I tracked it back to one specific event which created this experience of, if somebody else is winning, then I'm losing, which was really interesting to sort of track it back and pick apart the experience, because it made me be able to be more objective with it, so that when it came up, I could go, oh, that's my mind just associating this situation with what happened way back when, a tiny little incident that I created this whole meaning out of. And then from there, you're able to, I was able to let it go. Still comes up, but I've got more power over it than before. Because I think sometimes when jealousy comes up, people buy into all the thoughts that come along with it. Yeah, they didn't deserve it. Yeah, they're not as good as blah, blah, blah. I've done that, but, or whatever comes up. And they think that those things are true.
You identify with it.
Completely. Completely.
So much wisdom. This is gold, guys. Thank you so much for watching so far. If you've just tuned in, This is We Are Listening. Don't forget, we want this to be a conversation, so please use the hashtag We Are Listening. And if you've got any questions, thoughts, or comments, or stories to share, whack them in the comments right now, because we're here with you. Obviously, we filmed this in advance, but while this is going out, we are online to kind of be part of that conversation. So please don't feel like you can't join in. You totally can. I've got some more questions here for Andy and myself.
Oh, hang on, wasn't there a question for you in there as well? Like,
Oh, yeah.
what's inspired the creative path that you've chosen?
Well, for me, it all started out when I was very small and really wanted to like express rhythm and music all the time. So like as a young kid, I was kind of playing drums and playing in bands and joining orchestras and always making songs on whatever tape recorder I could find or whatever, and it was all like Michael Jackson, Paul Simon, people like that. My dad had this Bruce Hornsby tape in the car, which I used to love. Just showing off my
Bruce Hornsby in the range.
That's just the way it is. Like all that stuff, Dire Straits, all of that. Like being an 80s kid and just like it was a really ripe time for music, and it really set me off. So yeah, I always wanted to do it, but this new wave that I'm having now, this new kind of journey I'm going in, is very much inspired by people like Subtract and Son and James Blake and FKA Twigs and people like that. So I'm calling it dark pop because I don't really have a better name for it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a self-produced electronic music with me singing and bearing my soul over the top, and it feels good to be inspired. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I consume a lot of music, and I know when music's good because I can't wait to get to a studio or get my iPad out or whatever, just start making something now, because this is so exciting. I could do something inspired by this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you get that too with your art form?
Yeah, you're right actually, because I'm trying to think like what was because I'm watching the TV show Lost at the moment. I'm rewatching it. I've watched it twice before, but I've got an idea of something that I want to create, and so I thought I watched that to get inspiration about how they construct the show, because they got a very specific way of doing it. And you're right, yeah, it does make me go, my project's called The Grid. I'm like, yeah, I want to start, but I'm supposed to be doing something else, but I want to finish that so that I can start it. So you're right, it does generate that sort of sense of just like, yeah, I want to create now.
And do you find the juggle of being a creative is strenuous? Like you just mentioned, you've got to finish this because maybe that one's paying the bills this month, but then also there's this one which if I don't finish won't pay it in next month, but then there's this one which will never pay the bills but is going to satisfy my soul.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was going to say it's all got to satisfy your soul, but you're right, some of it has got to pay the bills as well. And I guess once again, I mean, I use this phrase a lot, but it is a dance between, because sometimes you could 100% of what you do could be bill paying stuff and you'll be unsatisfied, or you could do 100% that is just purely creative favors and freebie projects, and then you're not generating any income. So you've got to, I suppose at every moment you've got to keep making that decision, like where does this fit into what I want to do, what I want to create, not just in my creative life but in my personal life. Because if you've got I don't know, like some aspiration that you want to live a particular lifestyle, that's going to dictate your choices. And then if it does mean that lifestyle is a little bit more expensive, then you don't mind the money stuff so much, because you know that there's an end goal of this satisfying life that you've said you want to create. So yeah, it's a bit of a dance.
It's a balancing act, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think that for me, that's like, because I get a lot of questions about how I've managed to sustain myself, and for me it's about that balance. Like I've always been quite lucky in that I can kind of balance what I call my commercial work with what I call my artistic work. Yeah. And if I let either of them drop off, then they feed each other. Like if I'm not artistically being interesting, then I don't get the paid work.
Yes.
But if I don't get the paid work, I can't afford to create the artistic stuff which I don't get paid for. And then that was difficult for me because I stopped everything to write this album, which I didn't think, I thought it wouldn't take very long. I thought, I just stop saying yes to things unless they're going to help me make the album. And then I'll come out with the album and it'll all be great. But the process of stopping and sitting down to try and write this record is what triggered me into a really, my mental health got really bad. And it was an opportunity for me to see what I'd been running from my whole career.
Okay.
And then it's taken me till now to kind of come back out and and start presenting work again. But that was almost a 2-year break, which is really unhealthy for any kind of ecosystem to not be putting in. So now I'm like, yeah, it's difficult, like trying to juggle all those things. And like, you know, I've talked about it on this show before, like when your job is to be amazing for a living, like that can be really hard for your internal state of mind. It's like, well, you didn't do anything amazing today, so that's not good enough.
But amazing is in the mind of the person receiving what you're doing. Amazing otherwise is a pressure that we're putting on ourselves that is not, I don't know. I get what you're saying. Do you see it like that? That amazing exists over there in the person that received your music, or do you feel like amazing exists somewhere here going, you better be amazing today? Or
I think it's both, honestly, because I like amazing is a word that comes up quite a lot with the work that I kind of got known for, you know, like beatboxing and live looping and creating these like very dazzling shows. And people say it's amazing, or like, you know, you get booked for this gig and it's like, okay, what do you need me to do? Oh, you know, just come out and be amazing. Just do your thing.
Okay,
like,
no pressure.
Oh, cool. That's what I do. That's fine. Do you know what I mean? And then it's like, then it does become a voice. Like, you're making something like, is this amazing enough? Like, that isn't a question to ask.
But isn't that, so that's almost like internalizing what's been put out there, because I've just been introduced to this idea of like internalized misogyny and stuff like that, of like women taking on like these ideas. So the idea of like taking something from the outside, making it your own inner dialogue is like really interesting.
Really unhealthy.
It is, but it's just part of being a human being, and all of the things that we're doing in terms of trying to improve our mental health are about defining new relationships with what's going on inside the mind, because we can't stop the mind doing what it does. It has a very clear function, but we can have a different relationship with it. And I suppose that's the journey to creating a new platform, of a more healthy platform for your, you know, well-being, mental well-being. But yeah, it'll never, you know, because sometimes I see things on Instagram about meditation and saying about how you need to stop the mind, control the mind, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, mate, don't tell people that, because then when they fail at it, which they will, they'll feel like they can't do it. It's just having a new relationship with the monkey mind chatter. That's all you're after, is to be able to observe it. It's like if you had a child or something. It's like you don't want it to be quiet. You just want to have a different relationship with the noise that it makes. Because if it doesn't bother you, then it can carry on making Lego noise and stuff, or whatever it is children do. You can tell I don't have kids. They make Lego noise.
That child's making Lego noise again.
Yeah, stop with the Lego noise. I don't even know what Lego noise means.
That's a good description.
But yeah,
there's lots of Lego noise in my house.
Right, okay. But you must have a different relationship with Lego noise, because if you tried to control the Lego noise, you would it would not work.
I think that's lovely. I think, so you're accepting the Lego noise, and you're accepting the fact that mental Lego noise and real Lego noise are inevitable.
Yes.
Right? If you didn't have it, if your mind wasn't off, you wouldn't be alive. And that isn't the goal, and that's kind of where addiction comes in, because you're trying to basically dull that. You're trying to like not be alive. Basically, you're trying to like shush your head.
Yes.
And that's where the damage happens.
Yeah, and maybe, you know, who's to say what the quality and nature of some people's Lego noise is? See a new podcast coming on, Lego noise and how to deal with it.
Lego noise with Andi Osho.
But you know, some people might have unbearable, you know, noise going on inside their head, that they do feel like that's the only answer is narcotics or whatever. So that's why it's very difficult when people sort of make judgments about other people's mental health. Like some people don't understand depression, and okay, that's fantastic that you've never experienced something that has left you unable to get out of bed, but don't underestimate what can be occurring on the inside of somebody else and how powerful that could be on them in that moment. And what a big deal it is for them to just be able to get up and make some breakfast.
That's it, man. Well, guys, what's your Lego noise? Let's make this into a hashtag. Let's see a few comments.
Lego noise. Please, can we make this into a hashtag?
Yeah, let me see
really
a few
that.
hashtags, guys. Hashtag Lego noise. Tell me what's going on in your head that you feel like maybe you just don't want to be there, or you struggle to accept, or you're trying to drown it out, or you know, we all have that. We all have negative self-talk. We all have like, you know, an internal dialogue, and it's like, or an internal monologue, and it's like, how can we accept that? How can we embrace it? How can we allow ourselves to be who we are and still go on to do the things that we want to do with our lives? So yeah, let's see some hashtag Lego noises. Tell me what you're going through at the moment. I have no idea how long we've been going on for. I didn't look at my watch when we started, but I think we've got time for another question.
Okay.
So, let me see. We've got another one from Stuart Bramford. Thank you, Stuart. Which is another serious one, which is is the quota system at the BBC brought in to ensure that at least one female on TV panel shows?
Oh yeah.
Is this a good thing, or does it undermine the fact that there are thousands of talented women out there who deserve to be on these shows on merit and not just to fulfil a quota? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's not, Stuart, hi. It's not an either or. It's not either they get women who fulfil a quota or they get talented women. They get talented women that fulfil the quota. That's what they do. Sometimes they even have two. Saw that the other day on Mock of the Week, as some people call it. So yeah, it is unfortunate that we're in a place where we need quotas for anything.
Yeah.
But quotas are giving people the muscle memory to just automatically make those choices in the future. Because there are, as he said, so many talented women out there. And what was happening was that they weren't getting the opportunity. So unfortunately, that's when wrists have to be slapped and quotas have to be brought in.
So you think their merits weren't, like, it's not that those people who are there because of the quota are there not on merit, it's that their merit wouldn't have got seen in the first place because they weren't a man.
Yeah, well, because I think that people think of female comedian as a type of comedian, and so therefore if you have one of that type you can't have another of that type on your bill or on your panel. Same as they do with black comedians or Asian comedians. Like you wouldn't see 3 Asian comedians, you wouldn't probably even see 2 on Mock the Week. Do you know what I mean? Or I'm just using Mock the Week as an example.
Yeah,
they're you know, they're actually doing pretty well in terms of having a more varied and inclusive set of comedians. So but male comedians, white male comedians, tend not to be categorized in that same way, even though there's probably a lot more crossover between comedians than there are even between women, because there's so many types of humour and so many types of persona. So it's kind of insulting that people will not put me on the same bill as Zoe Lyon because we're both women. It's just like, have you seen us?
Such different styles.
Yeah, we've got totally different styles.
Yeah,
and
so
we talk about different things. And
so it's not okay to have a black comedian or female comedian as a style. That isn't a style of comedy.
Exactly.
Exactly. Like, yeah, okay. So
like they treat us, sometimes women get treated like a genre. And I think that, you know, even Adele said something like that as well a couple of years ago, that they treat female singers like that's a type or something. But male singers don't get treated quite in the same way. So, yeah, it's a good point. I get what he's saying, because I don't think anybody really wants us to live in a world of quotas where you're told that you have to have, you know, whatever issue it is that they're dealing with. But that's what creates the muscle memory to naturally do it anyways.
Cool. And I have one more question
here,
which is, what were the reasons Andy wanted to do this episode, which is also from Stuart, who's been very generous with his questions today. Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.
Why did you want to come talk about mental health with me right now today?
Well, there's 2 reasons. One, because I knew you were doing your campaign, and so I thought that would be great, seeing as you've just finished it, and because of what the album's about. The other one was because I think it was the creativity bit that really got me hooked, and because I think it's a big deal of like creators looking after their mental well-being, and also I did this topic on my Instagram thingy as well, so I think it's just really good to just be part of the conversation of just like having it just be something that is like cool to talk about. And people, I think there is still some stigma around it, maybe because there's not understanding always, and so to have, you know, to have the possibility of being part of that conversation was just like, yeah, of course I'm going to do that.
Well, we were really grateful, so big thank you to Andy for giving up a time to be here. It's true what you say though about the mental health thing, like, because I had this idea to create this show, and it was all very spontaneous, and, you know, within me having the idea 2 days later, we'd done the first episode, and 95,000 people had watched it with Jason Mraz. It was just mad.
Incredible.
But I also got a lot of messages back from the people I asked. Quite a few people saying, I think it's amazing and I would love to do it, but I just don't feel like I can. I just don't feel ready to. And I can completely respect that too. Like it's probably quite a daunting thing.
Yeah.
And the first time I tried to talk about my mental health in public was shooting the video for my pledge campaign.
Yeah.
And it took me the whole day to make this 3-minute video, and I was crying. I was a complete state. I had to keep stopping. It was really, really
That
difficult.
means that you were being real with it, though, because
Sure.
if you'd been trying to put on a mask or something, you would have just gone, "Hi guys," and just
"Hi guys,
yeah,
I'm
just
having a breakdown. Would you like to fund it?" That's easy.
Lego noise.
But no, I've been doing it. So that started in June, and what we now September. So it's like I've been talking about this, doing live streaming, doing interviews on the radio, writing these kind of really honest blog posts, and it's still really difficult to talk really openly about it, but it's not weird anymore. It's just normal. It's just, this is what I do. And now I'm getting asked to do stuff around it. Like I've just been asked to be on this Giles Peterson curated festival that's all raising money for a mental health charity.
Amazing.
And I'm like, wow, I'm kind of creating an identity of being someone who's up for talking about this stuff. And that normalising is happening to me.
Okay.
And it's happening to my crowd, because the people who I'm interacting with online are up. They're the ones who are still here are the ones who are up for talking about it.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. I'm really proud of it.
That's really great. I love that. And I completely get how challenging it is to share, because especially with comedy, I know people have the idea of like tears of a clown and all that sort of stuff, but they never really see the tears. We're laughing usually at them because they're being presented in a humorous routine or whatever. But actually, I was asked to do a talk at a film festival last year, and I hadn't planned to discuss mental health, but I think the topic of like why I had sort of graduated away from stand-up had come up, and I started talking about depression and how that had taken quite a toll on me, and it got to the point where at one point I couldn't really work. I remember having to go and do I was reading a Peter and the Wolf with a live orchestra. You get to asked to do random things, don't you? But and I had to get to this theatre that was like, I don't know, like maybe 20 minutes up the road from me, and it just took everything I had just to get there. And the weird thing is when I got there, I don't think anyone would have known anything was going on, because with depression, you don't look. It's not sadness. You don't show what's going on. But I just remember just like, yeah, I'm gonna have to stop for a second. You know what I mean? Like regroup for a few weeks or whatever. But so this all came up in this conversation at this film festival, and then afterwards, I was approached by so many people who were saying, that stuff that you said about depression. And there's one girl, she's like, I've had depression for like 5 years or whatever, and it really, that was one of the best things I think I've ever done, is like just been in this room with people and just like honestly shared, but not from a place of victim, this is terrible, my life. It was just this is what happened. And it chimed in such a way with the people watching that they felt like that, or who were in the room, they felt that they could come and talk to me afterwards, and that really, really touched me. And I sort of, I still hold in my heart like the people that I spoke to, because in comedy, people see you in a particular way, and there isn't a lot of room sometimes, or we think there isn't a lot of room to talk frankly about things like that. So it was just a really nice thing to be able to just share, like, this is actually a part of me that you might not ever know about, but I want to share it as well. So if it, the fact that it meant something and resonated for people was really sort of like rewarding.
That's really lovely. It's like you're kind of letting people see the real you, like, because you talked about at the height of your stand-up career, when you were talking about Andi Osho in the third person, you were saying that's the kind of dress that she would wear. Like, do you feel that kind of separation? Like, do you still feel that now? Yeah,
very, very much so. Not because, just because the identity of that person was so different from who I am. And I think who I am today is much more authentically connected with the core of me. Whereas she
but that's still Andi Osho, no? Like, you still use that as your name?
Yeah, totally. But she was just different. And even if I went back to stand-up, I wouldn't go back to doing it that way. I think I'd have a different approach to it. I don't know what it would look like until I do it, but I think it would be different. And it's not better, it's not worse, just different, because lots has changed since then. Lots has changed for me, and I think part of that is giving myself permission to be more honestly me. And some people might think, because like, for example, the thing I do on Instagram.
Yeah.
Some people might find that a little bit earnest, because
every Sunday, by the way.
Every Sunday on Instagram, talking about being a creative, all the different things that are associated with it. So we talk about the hustle, we talk about mental health, we talk about the grind, how to be a professional, but we talk about it more from a change your mindset, and then from there approach that topic, rather than, it's not a to-do list or anything. But it's not a routine. Do you know what I mean? It's me talking for an hour about the things that I've learned and sharing those things about being creative. For some people, that's going to be like, just tell us a joke or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to want to connect with this person, but I've got to be this person, because this is who I am, and who that girl was before didn't feel like she could share in this way. And that means that, a certain percentage of you're not even accessing, isn't available, isn't real, doesn't get to breathe. And that's not living completely.
But there is something super seductive about that, especially in comedy, that persona who can get up on the stage at the Apollo and just be like super, well, it's going back to the amazing thing really, isn't it?
Right.
And then it's like, have you ever felt that, like when you've said, no, I want to do something more authentic? Have you sensed it, that people are like, oh, can't you just tell us a joke? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And that's what, I think the fear of even that would have stopped me a while ago. And just to be clear, there was a period in stand-up where I was really enjoying myself. And probably the Apollos and the Mock the Week, all that sort of stuff, I was enjoying it. But there was somewhere underneath the surface an unrest that got bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where I wasn't enjoying it. But yeah, definitely I would have been a little bit fearful of like being that completely honest about the things that were interesting to me, and the more serious things, or feeling like if I do talk about the serious things, I have to make a joke. I have to make light of things. And
that's like me feeling like I have to beatbox. It's the same thing.
Right, yeah, and it feels like you have to force it, even though you sort of have to go, here we go, yeah, sort of thing.
And then that's not the honest place where the success came from in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I still want to bring comedy to people as well, but I want to use other outlets. So, for example, this book that I'm writing is definitely a comedy. It's a comedy fiction, and I want to write sitcoms or comedy shows, narrative comedies. So there's definitely in me. That bit wasn't inauthentic. It was just my connection with how I want to express it in the business has changed, that's all.
Well, that's super exciting. Like, I'm sure everybody watching this can't wait to find out what's going to come out of the creative exploits of Andi. So please join me in thanking this amazing human being for being here with us, and for being part of We Are Listening, being part of our family. So guys, I feel like this is a good place to wind it up, but thank you so much for watching. This episode will stay up online now forever and ever for anyone to watch and scrutinise. And we'll be back next month with more real talk about creativity, well-being, mental health, creativity, that kind of stuff. Mental being, well-being. I'm having a meltdown.
Lego noise.
Lego noise.
Lego noise, very important.
So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Round of applause, please, for Andi Osho. And big up to these guys behind the cameras. Oh, yeah. Andrew and Matthew, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you to, what is it? What does it say here? FW, Fletcher Wilson, for letting us use this amazing studio.
It is nice.
Super professional. We're not just in a hotel room anymore. So guys, thank you. We're out. Peace and love. Goodbye.